Well, joining us this morning is Kamie Mazza. She's medical foster home coordinator, and she joins us here this morning. Kamie, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming down this morning from Erie.
Yes, it was a beautiful drive.
Let's talk about what you do, but first, tell us about yourself.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I grew up in Warren, Pennsylvania, so I'm familiar with this like small town situation that you guys have going on. And I've lived in Erie for about the past 10 years. I'm a clinical social worker at the VA. I have two daughters who are 2.5 and 4.5, and they are so much fun, and I'm tired.
That's great. We got 3 boys, and that's, it's exhausting, but great.
But great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how'd you get involved with the VA?
So when I was getting my master's degree in social work, I was fortunate enough to be selected to have my internship at the VA. I was in the caregiver support program, which is an absolutely wonderful program at the VA. So I got my start there in about 2017. And, being there just really grew my passion for caring for veterans and, was a great experience. So thankfully, I was able to continue on in my career there at the VA.
Is this the path you've always wanted to take, or growing up, what sort of areas did you think, maybe I consider this? Or
Yeah. So I've always been a helper, and I'm terrible at math, so I knew that I would never have a job in STEM. And I'm a natural helper, I'm the oldest child. And so I just kind of fell into that, during my time in my undergraduate. I spent a lot of time doing psychology, anthropology, sociology, fell right into that. So
you gotta be pretty smart to do that kind of stuff too.
A different kind of smart, right? Like an emotionally intelligent smart.
There you go.
Yeah.
More than what I have. So, but this is great. So then you get involved with the VA, and we're going to talk about this wonderful program, medical foster home program that you've been working on. This is outstanding. Is this something that was a program that you kind of came into, or how did this come about?
Yeah, so this program has been around nationally for about 20 years across the country, and now it's under expansion. There was a law that passed in 2022 saying we need to have more options for, geriatric and extended care for veterans. So that, we started the program at the VA. They put out the job posting for it, and I said, oh my goodness, that sounds perfect for me. And so I was selected, and here I am.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So let's talk about the program.
Mm-hmm.
Give us all the details.
Okay. So medical foster home, it's an alternative to nursing home care for veterans. So this is for veterans who prefer a non-institutional setting, and they actually live in a caregiver's home. So a caregiver in the community would choose to work with the VA and open their home to become a certified medical foster home through the VA, and they would have the veteran live there and, take care of them long term.
That sounds like, it's very impressive, but it sounds like it benefits veterans, but it also is an opportunity to, if you're somebody who says, how can I help? How can I get involved? This would be an opportunity for them as well. Yes,
this is a really unique way for people to give back to veterans. People in our community and in general are very passionate about veterans and, caring for those who served. And this is a really unique way for people who are caregivers, have experienced caregiving, are a helper, kind of like how I am. This is a way for them to use their passion and their experience to help care for veterans in our community.
And it gives the veterans like a home-like atmosphere to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, like I said, an alternative to nursing homes. So for veterans who prefer not to be institutionalized, who want to live in a more home-like environment, this is perfect for them. And they still get that same type of care that they would in a nursing home, but it's just from an experienced caregiver, in the home.
So talk about what the process is like, if somebody wanted to get involved.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the first part to talk about that's important is the caregiver is helping the veteran with activities of daily living. So this is things like help with bathing, getting dressed, eating if they need that type of help. So we need caregivers that have that type of experience. It doesn't have to be formal experience. It can just be informal, like they've taken care of a loved one in the past, and the VA helps provide training for the caregiver to care for the veteran.
So there are some opportunities there for training. So if you're somebody that says, "Boy, this is something that I'd like to do, but maybe I don't have that experience," there are tools that are going to be offered to help somebody through that process.
Yes. The program is really unique because it partners with our home-based primary care team at the VA, and that is a team of, an interdisciplinary team that has the provider, a nurse, a social worker, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and that team actually comes into the home to provide care for the veteran, and they can train up the caregiver on, the things that the veteran specifically needs. And they're in there very regularly to support the veteran and the caregiver, and I'm in there at least monthly as well to provide that support.
If somebody called you today, how soon could they welcome a vet?
Yeah, so there is, as you would imagine, a pretty rigorous application process because we want these caregivers in these homes to be fantastic. We want to set everybody up for success. So if somebody called me today, I would be super excited. And I love talking to potential caregivers. So it would really start with just a phone screening with me, kind of talk through it, see if it's something you want to do, if it sounds like your home's going to be appropriate for this. If it is, I go out and make a visit and, check it out, see, does this look like a good environment? Does it feel like it's going to be a good fit? And from there, the caregiver can apply. There's a paper application for them to go through. And then there's also an inspection process through our interdisciplinary team. So there's a fire safety inspection. We check out the kitchen to make sure that's looking good. The nurse comes to talk to the caregiver. Physical and occupational therapy can come look at the home. So there's a big, physical inspection of the home. And then we also do a background check through the VA. We ask for personal references, and we ask that the caregiver be CPR and first aid certified.
So when you mentioned this is a program nationally that's been going on for 20 years, obviously there's probably some data that you can look at. What's the benefit for the veterans who go through this program?
Yeah, so I don't have this exact numbers, but I know there is evidence that veterans obviously have better mental and emotional health because they are in a much more loving, nurturing environment. There's less hospitalizations, there's less issues with wounds, things like that, because they're in a more personalized environment with that caregiver who's right there with them.
And this would be obviously if you're an individual, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so just that mental aspect of having somebody to talk to is also a benefit.
Yes. Yeah, of course, veterans really benefit from the socialization, being part of a family. And what's great is the caregivers can have up to 3 veterans in their home.
Oh, wow.
So if they have space, they can have up to 3 veterans. And there's actually quite a few videos on the medical foster home YouTube of what these families look like. And there's a new one that came out in July. And there's 3 veterans that live in that family. And it is absolutely adorable. They become like brothers, they tease each other. And so they're building, another family inside this family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about who would make a good, well, and I guess we'll take both perspectives, right? And I don't know if as veterans are going through the VA, if people are sort of taking note, hey, maybe this would be a good option for this person. But who are some of the good candidates for hosting veterans?
Yeah, so it can look like a lot of different things. I speak to a lot of people who are in the healthcare field. So maybe people who are a nurse's aide or have been, or a home health aide, maybe retired healthcare workers, people who have that experience and know that they have that passion for caring for veterans. So that's a big thing. And like I mentioned, also people who have just maybe cared for loved ones in the past. I do often interface with, family members. I'm, out in the VA lobby a lot talking to veteran spouses and things like that. And they have that experience with caring for their veteran. And so yeah, they have those skills and knowledge.
What does somebody looking to host have to provide? You mentioned, a private area, a bedroom probably, but what are some other things that might be required?
Yep, we want the veteran to have a bedroom, and it needs to be a home. It needs to be the caregiver's personal home, where they reside. We want it to be a home-like environment, and the caregiver does provide. It's all the cost of medical foster home is all the room and board, the meals, the transportation. So that's all inclusive, and the average rate of payment for medical foster home is $2,800 a month, and that is private pay. The veteran makes an arrangement with the caregiver on what that payment is going to be and what their care agreement includes.
And then who qualifies or who can qualify to get into this program if you're a vet?
Yeah. So the veteran needs to be eligible for that home-based primary care program that I talked about. So that means that the veteran has, complex medical conditions that are better cared for, in a home environment, and also that piece of being nursing home eligible. So needing help with those activities of daily living, like bathing, getting dressed, that type of thing. And that can present in a broad range of what the person looks like. And it can also include maybe veterans with a traumatic brain injury or with dementia who need that 24/7 supervision. And the veteran just needs to be willing to live in the medical foster home, of course. And it can be a great alternative for veterans who may be even already in the nursing home, but they would do okay in a home. Yes.
So that would be an option then for somebody who's already in a facility.
Yep.
Okay.
I have other social workers at the VA say, hey, I've got this veteran at the nursing home. I think he would do great in a home. So that is an option. Yes.
So I would imagine you meet a lot with the families of veterans as well to have these kind of discussions.
We do. Yep. I do have families call me, or even veterans themselves call me to talk about it because they really do want alternatives. I have not had any veterans come to me and say, please, I would like to be in a nursing home. They say, what are my options? Because we know that there is a growing population of older veterans, and the VA, we really want to be focused on, and we're doing it. We're making sure that there's options for them as their care needs increase.
Again, I would imagine for probably a lot of people, a lot of talk over, coming out of COVID and, being away from people during some of that time. But just to have that presence of being with somebody and having communication and talking for a veteran who might be by themselves, this is a great opportunity to be engaged and to have that support. So that's another benefit to this, is that personal relationship.
Absolutely. And we know that social isolation, really causes a lot of, like mental health symptoms in a person's life. And it can really increase, they may not be taking care of themselves as well because of that isolation. So yeah, absolutely, them being in a different kind of environment where they're welcomed into a family and have that loving person taking care of them. Can't beat it.
Can't. Not at all.
Yeah.
You're watching The Morning Drill on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. We are talking about the medical foster home program. And when it comes to the area, Kamie, that you service, how large is your territory? Who could call you up today and say, hey, let's talk?
Erie VA, in general, we cover Warren, Crawford, McKean, Ashtabula, Ohio, Venango County, Erie, and Crawford, if I didn't say that already.
Wow. So that's a big area.
It's a big area. Yeah, and we actually have home-based primary care in all of those areas, which is great. It's a big area. Right now, we are focusing medical foster home in Erie and Crawford counties, just because those are our larger areas. Sure. But I'm willing to talk to somebody who might be a little bit outside those areas who is interested, because we could possibly make that work.
Do you get support or do you have veterans groups reach out to you and say, hey, can you send us more information, or can you come and speak to our group like VFWs or American Legions?
I do. So we do a lot of outreach, and I do speak to veterans agencies, any like outside agencies too. I actually really enjoy going to senior centers to talk to the people there, because they're all very community minded, and want to give back and know what's going on. So yeah, I talk to veterans organizations and just a broad range of people in the community, agencies, things like that.
What are questions that seem to pop up on a regular basis for you? What are those common questions you get?
So people ask, this is a really big commitment, right? Like they say, oh my goodness, like who's going to do this? That's a huge commitment. And like you and I were talking about, there really are people in the community who are passionate about this, who are maybe already doing this for a family member. So that is a question I get. And that 24/7 commitment to caring for the veteran, it really is a commitment. And one thing I didn't mention is that we do have the caregivers have relief caregivers, designated relief caregivers who are also vetted by the VA, and they are there to be able to step in when the caregiver's not, when they need to get out of the house and do things.
So, again, really, it's a matter of sitting down and having that one-on-one with you and just getting more information, figuring out what that process is. Does it make sense? And it might not make sense for somebody who has that initial interest, right? And as they learn more, but for somebody else, they might say, "Boy, this is great. This is a way for me to help and give back." Which I'm sure you have a lot of stories you could share just on those types of relationships that develop.
Yes.
If folks want more information, they can go to the website.
So the easiest way to find me is if you can Google Erie VA Medical Foster Home. The address is a little bit long, so just Google me and it'll take you to my page. Or if you just go to va.gov/geriatrics, that has a lot of general information about the program. Those YouTube videos I talked about that feature homes and caregivers.
And there's a lot of great information on there. How much does it cost, becoming a caregiver? So there's some fantastic information. How much time should somebody set aside if they call and want to meet with you?
Well, it depends on how chatty they are and how chatty I am. To just give me a call, it can be, 10, 20-minute conversation, just kind of getting the basic information. When I come out to visit the house, I say usually it takes about an hour because we really have to sit and talk and, because we really want to make sure this is a right fit. And I want them to interview me too. And say, are you going to support me? Is the VA going to support me? What's this going to look like? Because we're choosing each other, right? And the veteran is also going to be choosing the caregiver and vice versa. So we got to make sure that this is going to be a good fit.
Yeah, and that is just obviously extremely important. Do you have a list of veterans that you're hoping to find a match for, or is it sort of based off of, well, as we get somebody, then we'll kind of reach out and see if we can find a veteran?
I do have veterans who have called me about it, so they're here.
Okay. And
they also are usually working with home-based primary care or another program at the VA. So we're aware of them. And as we get homes, as veterans come to us and talk about it, we can help them match with a home. Like I said, that's the most important part. Is I'm a matchmaker. We want the caregiver and the veteran, they can get together. The veteran can do an overnight visit, whatever they need to do to make sure it's a good fit and everybody's going to have a good experience.
If somebody's like, boy, I'd love to do this. I don't know if right now's the time, but I'd still like to support a program like this. Are there other opportunities to support this program?
I would say the best way to support my program is to tell other people about it.
Okay.
We rely on a lot of word of mouth, so I ask that, people have churches or organizations or groups that they belong to. I love to come out and talk to these organizations, even if it's not somebody, if I'm going to a senior center, those people might not become caregivers, but they're going to tell their friends about it. They're going to tell their church group. People love knowing what's available to veterans. So there really is no wrong person for me to be able to talk to. So I'd say that's the best way to support is to just help me spread the word.
You mentioned the website. Is there a phone number people can call to reach you?
Yes. My direct phone number is 814-780-2347.
Where would you like to see this program in the next year, 5 years?
I want business to be booming.
Okay.
My goal is to grow homes as much as we can. We want nice quality homes. So we're not just going to hurry. We're going to take our time, be diligent about finding the right caregivers, the right homes. I want 10 homes in the next year or two, and it can grow exponentially. We'll get another one of me if we need to.
There you go. Well, and again, go watch the videos. They are really touching. And I would imagine, again, if you have somebody that is interested and you visit their home and there's some little things that need done, you're going to provide that list, right? To say, hey, we want you, but we need to do this, this, and this, and then we can continue the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. We're definitely willing to work with the caregiver.
Kamie, thanks for coming down.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
Please come back and update us on everything that's going on.
I will.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, all the best.